Hi there, and welcome back to another episode of DIY AI. I am not an engineer, and this week we are going to be seeing which LLM, again, large language model, is better at producing a professional headshot. We're going to be using two different models. That will be Grok versus ChatGPT, and we're going to be seeing what the outputs look like using the same initial input. So, let's go ahead and get started. So for this first kick at the cat, I decided to use ChatGPT, and I provided it with just a regular selfie. Now this was just a selfie that I happened to take while I was traveling on the road. I had no makeup on, I had just woken up, I just rolled out of bed like that. My aim was to see if ChatGPT would be able to produce a really good quality professional photograph, given the fact that I tried 0%. I tried not at all. So the odds were stacked against the models. This first attempt was my initial prompt to ChatGPT. I provided it with my initial photograph that you previously saw and the same prompt that I will include in the comments. And this was the initial response that it provided to me. Now, something to note is that ChatGPT only provides one response at a time, and it has a maximum of 5 photographs that it will provide to you via an output in a 24-hour period. So this was a multi-day process. I was blown away by the initial results. I never in a million years would have expected to provide it with a very baseline photograph and it be able to kick out the quality that it provided. Now, I wanted to see if I could tweak a couple things that it did provide me with. I didn't like the color of the shirt, so I started to prompt it a little bit further, seeing if I could change the hairstyle or change the way the shirt looked. And that's when things started to go off the rails a bit. At this point, it started becoming pretty obvious that the more I was prompting the tool, the worse and worse my results were going to be, which is pretty standard for ChatGPT. Sometimes less is more, and in this case, it is definitely true. So at this point, I decided to transition and try Grok. Now, important to note, I used the same starting photograph for Grok as I did with ChatGPT. I changed a couple things in the initial prompt to see if I would yield a better result, and this was the final product. Now, although we had a really rocky start with Grok to begin with, I did notice a couple of differences between ChatGPT and Grok. Number one, ChatGPT would only provide you a single output for every input you gave the model, whereas Grok would give you 2 options right off the bat. Number 2, Grok also did not have a cap of how many images you could go back and forth on, at least not one that I ran into. I'm sure there is one, but after about a dozen photographs going back and forth, it streamlined the process and made it much easier. I was also very impressed with how big of a leap it took from my initial feedback and really not liking the output it provided, it listening to the additional prompts and improving incrementally at that point. Very different experience than with ChatGPT. At the day, both models have some really wonderful pros to them, but they also have a couple cons. This is why it's important for you to dive in and get your hands dirty to kind of understand what fits your style best and also learn how to adapt the way you're prompting these LLMs to get your actual desired output. Thanks for watching. I am not an engineer, and this is DIY AI. Please like and subscribe, and don't forget to comment providing some different examples of things you would like to see tested yourself. Have a wonderful day, and let's experiment together.